This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Mike Irwin from Pig Trail Nation. Always appreciate that. Mike, how was your weekend?
College baseball. I'm enjoying the College World Series. Got a great game coming up tonight. Ooh, man, it's going to be good. Wake and LSU. That'll be interesting.
Absolutely.
And saw a really good one last night. I mean, the ORU, these guys don't give up. I mean, they just don't give up. They had a chance to come back and win in the 8th or go ahead in the 8th and then win in the 9th, and they just couldn't pull it off. But Florida, to me, Florida, LSU, and Wake Forest are three teams you look at right now, and you think among that group, one of them is going to win it all. Could be wrong, but
I still wouldn't count out Tennessee. Just because, look, they faced – watching that game on Saturday, there were a couple things I thought of here. A, Tennessee still can come because they've got the kind of pitching depth to make it through the losers bracket. B, they probably don't have to face Paul Skeens a second time. And I felt, look, it wasn't just the Tennessee batters because LSU batters faced it too. I don't know what you thought about this, but I thought the strike zone on Saturday was just unfair to batters on both ways. It was terrible.
Yeah. That's one of the big flaws in baseball. It'll drive you nuts. You get a weird umpire with a weird strike zone, and it might just be a weird strike zone in that game. You know, you just don't know. But I agree with you. I was looking at that going, what in the hell is that?
They were giving him an inch and a half off the plate, or at least that's what it looked like from my vantage point.
Yeah.
Even the announcers are saying, man, they're calling it both ways, so you can say that. At least they're calling it both ways. But when you got one guy who's throwing 40-some pitches at 100 miles an hour plus, I think it might help him a little bit more.
Well, there is a common belief that LSU does not have the overall pitching depth to do this. Once you get past Skeens, then it starts. They can hit, but the pitching is not maybe what Florida's is, for instance. So it'll be interesting. It's just been fun to watch. I'm still, the ORU thing is still, they're still hanging in there the way they battle, and then you've got this Blaze Brothers, who, when he hit that home run the other night, the immediate reaction raised, well, how come he wasn't at Arkansas? And you have to go back and look and realize, well, let's see, they had Robert Moore, then Peyton Stovall came along. They've had some pretty good second basemen. This guy started off and went 2 years JUCO and then went, mid-major, and then finally ended up at ORU. And he's a perfect example of what that team is made up of, which is guys that have just stuck around and gotten better and better and better and better. But, hey, look what he did. He beat TCU, so more power to him.
Mike, we got the NBA draft coming up this Thursday, and we got some Razorbacks that are going to be drafted. I was trying to think out of some of these guys being drafted. Joe Johnson was kind of a can't miss. Ronnie Brewer, Bobby Porter, some guys you knew that were going to be all right. If you were to look at Anthony Black, Nick Smith, and Jordan Walsh, you think all three of those guys are can't misses?
No, not necessarily. Now they'll all get drafted. In other words, are they going to be long-time NBA players going to have an impact?
Do you see him like Bobby Portis signed a couple contracts? He's going to play a decade. Yeah. I think if Nick Smith is healthy, but I think all three of those guys could play 10 years in the NBA if they're healthy.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, Walsh could definitely be a guy that's better as a pro than he was in college. I mean, he had a lot of issues here. He couldn't play defense for the longest time without fouling out. And I don't know how that translates to the NBA. But look, a lot of people, there's still some residual anger over some of that stuff because those guys didn't do what everybody thought they were going to do. But to me, it helps your program. I don't care if they're one and done or whatever. If they get drafted, if they go into the NBA, and if they have an impact, that always helps your program. So Razorback fans ought to be watching that draft and going, yeah, go, man, go for it. Get in there and do something. Have an impact.
There's this correlation I can draw between these two conversations we've had. You look at like the Oral Roberts guys. These are guys who've been through the ringer. You've been through. Some of them played for two different junior colleges. If you've done that and you've played at another D1 school and you've been able to settle at one of the real powers of lower mid-major baseball, then you're really happy with where you are. And look at what they've done here. Great talent does not always equal success especially in a postseason when one loss in basketball can ruin it for you. And it's like the three guys that are one and done from Arkansas, they didn't go through that ringer. And it's nothing negative against them. It's just their age. Ricky Council went through that ringer. A guy who was from North Carolina, wasn't recruited by the schools near him, ends up at Wichita State, puts together a good career there, takes his chance at Arkansas, put on a good show for the scouts. And you use the term a little residual anger. Is that really what you felt? Anger that they didn't necessarily lead to a national title or Final Four? Or was there any, because the way I viewed it was I tried to understand of why they didn't get where we thought they were going to go. And I think injuries were a major part of it in some cases. Do you still detect real residual anger from the way the season ended?
It's internet stuff, and there's always a lot of anger on the internet. The internet is unfiltered. People if you could go into somebody's house and listen to what they really say, not polite public conversations, there'd be a lot of this. I mean, I say some stuff that never becomes public, and I wouldn't want it public because it's just private opinions. Well, what happens on the internet is a lot of those people get on, they're unfiltered. They just put out there what they would normally just say maybe to two or three of their friends. So, yeah, there was anger. It was like, hey, this was supposed to be the number one class in the country, and we're going to win a national championship, and you guys didn't come close to that, and you did this, and now you're gone, and we got rooked. There's a lot of that out there, even to the point of we don't care what you do in the NBA now. What? You go to the NBA and become a star now, and you didn't do that here? No. If you came in and helped us win it all, then we'd be for you in the NBA, but we're not now. There's some of that out there. I don't know how widespread it is, but you read it.
Yeah, that's wild because I'm pulling for these kids, man, and you can see that these guys are going to be successful and are going to have decent careers, especially if they stay healthy. Mike, what do you think about Coach Muss and the class that he's got, I guess, set up now? Do we have any more scholarships left on this basketball team to offer?
Yeah, there's one left. There's a lot of speculation out there, and nobody seems to know. Yeah, I'm thinking we still have guys entering the portal, so he's still looking around. There's this whole thing now with West Virginia. All those guys can transfer if they want because Huggins resigned.
Oh, yeah.
So, maybe there's somebody there. I don't think, I think they've lost the kid to Alabama. People keep going, well, why isn't he announced? How this has been going on for over 2 weeks now? He's supposedly committed to Alabama. He hasn't made an announcement. What's the deal? And I've asked around, and I'm told that it's kind of a procedural thing that he's got to take. I don't know if it's grades or he's got to take a class or he's got to get an adjustment on something he took. I'm told he's still going to end up there, and he's not coming to Arkansas. I keep being told that. He's not coming here, don't think, because there hasn't been an announcement. But that doesn't mean there's not somebody. You know that Muss is not going to leave that scholarship open. So to me, he's out there looking and wants to, that last piece of the puzzle is to me probably going to be a big one.
The Huggins thing is amazing. Did you read any of the police
He's such
report?
a player's coach too, just likable.
Yeah.
Matt, he didn't even know where he was.
Oh yeah, well
He got stopped in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
He thought he told the cops he was in Columbus, Ohio. That's a 4-hour drive from Pittsburgh.
He was on that bus that the Cardinals or the Pirates were taking, huh?
I think he had more to drink than that driver did.
Whoa.
That's truly shocking. And not every Hall of Fame career comes to an end with a parade. Some of them come to an end with a thud, and that's the story of Bob Huggins and the way his career ended. 2 thuds at the end of his career, and this one for drinking under the influence is the last one.
I mean, it's just there, and it gets some people, and some people break away from it. I got to tell you guys, I went through a period, college, I didn't drink in high school. I got to college, and I went to my first party, and I'm with my buddy, and there's some drinking, and I say, I better not, and he goes, well, why not? And I go, yeah, my mom doesn't like that. And he goes, your mom is 400 miles away. And I'm like, hey, you're right. So you start doing that, and then your buddies do, and then I had a cousin that was killed by a drunk driver. And I have to tell you, I still got in my car and left a party and drove to my apartment more than once after having too many. And you look back on it now and you think, what was I, a moron? Yeah, I was a moron. At some point you have to look at yourself and stop doing that. But some guys, you get to be 50 and 60 years old and it's still happening to you. And it's a tragedy.
It's probably because he'd gotten away with doing it for a long time, but it was the second time he was caught over a 20-year period. Yeah. So, and I read about where, I don't remember the name of the collective, but the West Virginia NIL collective is trying to do everything they can to keep that team together because he brought in a lot of really good transfers. And then you and I texted in this morning, and this is independent necessarily of the West Virginia collective, but the rules are changing. The IRS last week made a ruling about money that goes from regular Joe Q public to a collective, and apparently it is no longer tax deductible, as if they were really donating to a charity to begin with. I mean, that's a joke to think about.
I think that's a huge deal because if you can get a tax break by giving, to athletics, I mean, you can see where a lot of guys would do that. But now what happens when you find out there's no benefit to that at all? You're just giving that money away. Will it have an effect on these NIL collectives? I don't know. And they'll probably sue and try to take it to the courts and say, it should be taxed. But there's just no way. That's not donating to a charity. You're giving money to a player. So come on.
And I hear these, I don't remember where I heard this from, but for so long, I mean, you would donate to the foundation, the Razorback Foundation, 12th Man Foundation,
right,
whatever, and they would choose where the money goes to in most cases. And a lot of times, I mean, we see this arms race of facilities and coaches' salaries just across our own league in and of itself. Is there a chance now? Because there could be a considerable shift of where public money, not public government money, but just regular citizens' money goes towards if they choose to donate. Well, I shouldn't use the word donate. Choose to give the money to a collective, because in that case, man, I mean, maybe it's a good thing we've had this facilities arm race because in that case, potentially you might not see too many upgrades at a lot of other schools because the money's going to the student athlete and not to the foundation.
Absolutely. There's already been a lot of speculation about that. There's only a certain amount of money out there available from boosters to athletics. And if all that money was going to improve facilities for coaches' salaries or whatever, and we've seen facilities go through the roof, we've seen coaches' salaries go up, but if a lot of that money is now going to NIL, I mean, you don't create a new revenue stream, do you? It's just a part of what was there, so you're taking a smaller chunk. So is this going to, if something's not done, does it reduce coaches' salaries? Does it, like you say, if you better have your facilities in order because you may not be building a new football operations center every 15 years. You may have to live with the one you've got.
Yeah, Matt, think about it in these terms. Like, we had the conversation about Grant Nelson last week. He's going to go where whoever pays him. Whoever pays him the most. You're looking to, like, if you give money to the Razorback Foundation, say, here, take this, do what you will with it. It's like you're trying to do what you can to induce great recruiting for your program. But that's also what NIL is. That's a way to recruit players to your program, and potentially that's the way that fans might view that they can do something about it more so than giving to a foundation. Because all that conversation we had all these years about, well, look at our facilities. Look at the coach we got here for you. That has nothing to do with this is the amount of money we can give you to play here.
In all these SEC schools, their facilities for the most part are first class. Used to, what was it, in the 90s, Mike? It was like Nebraska had the best facilities in the world, and that's when they were winning their national titles. And then all of a sudden everybody started catching up a little bit with them. And where's Nebraska gone?
Well, and you had places that thought they had good facilities, like the Broyle Center was built in 73, I think, or 74. And even by the time you came along, Matt, it was still a nice facility, but not by today's standards. And look, every time somebody comes up with something cool in the way of a facility, you know what happens? It starts getting copied. I still remember Alabama had a waterfall. We got a waterfall in our football operations center. Okay, we got to have waterfall then. We got to have a pool. We had a pool out here for our players. We had a swimming pool out here, an outdoor pool. Well, we got to get one. And it just every time, and I've noticed that now with baseball. Arkansas opened up that new baseball operations center, and now everybody's going, well, we got to have that. We got to have what they've got. We got to have that indoor pitching area with computers.
That's the absolute truth. You see schools that brought their administrators and whatnot out to baseball series at Arkansas this last year because they want to build a ballpark and facilities that are just like that. Mike, we're out of time. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Let's do it again next week as long as you got the time. I know you might be on vacation at some point.
In about a month.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
That was going to be my next question. Does he take vacations? Now I know the answer to that question.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your championship finals info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and the latest matchup reports for this year's NBA and Stanley Cup Finals. BetOnline is your sports intel headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your insider sports wagering needs, from baseball and hockey to MLB, UFC, and boxing. The fastest and easiest way to get all your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your home. Get in the action today. Head over to our website or use your mobile device to join, and be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive 50% bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.